The overall market is expecting that XRP is very, very likely to get approved for an ETF. Personally, I think this is probably pretty fair. Like, if there's any crypto asset out there that hasn't been approved for an ETF that it like should be, is probably Ethereum. Then after, or not Ethereum, excuse me. I know Ethereum already has one. XRP, and then after that, I would say it's probably Solana, and then after that, I'd probably say Cardano. I know there's a bunch of people who will fight me picking Solana over Cardano, but for reasons I've listed out in several different videos, that I kind of have some reasons as to why I think that's the case. But I think it's probably less controversial to say that XRP just generally is kind of like, that is the third place kind of token that should get its own ETF. I have my own kind of personally hang-ups with XRP, but I think it's the third largest crypto. It's got a very strong community behind it. It's been around for a very, very long time. I think there's a lot of reasons why it could or should have its own ETF, and people can decide from there. I mean, just because it has an ETF doesn't mean that people have to buy it, right? I mean, that's not how that works. So I think having the opportunity, or at least the option to buy into XRP is definitely something that makes a lot of sense, and I think that we should kind of be waiting for it, or we should kind of be expecting that here in 2025. And there's a lot of people that agree with me on that. We're going to get into that here in a second. But first off, I want to take a look at crypto bubbles, just because we can see things kind of red on the day. We can see XRP only down just under 3%, so still down, of course. There's a couple here that are up, but I would say kind of on par, or maybe even beating the rest of the market a little bit in terms of kind of how the market's been moving today. We can see actually it's a little bit surprising that Ethereum is only down about 2.6%, which is a little bit surprising to me, just given that that was the source of the major hack today. We did have $1.5 billion stolen from Bybit by North Korean hacking group, and so that obviously is causing several different issues. If you want to learn more about that, I did just release a video this morning talking about that, so I would say just kind of I will refer you to that video for the sake of brevity of this one, but because we're also here to talk about the XRP ETFs and things like that as well. So moving on though, let's take a quick look at the XRP price too. There's a lot of interesting things going on with XRP from like a regulatory perspective, from like a kind of news perspective, and we're seeing a lot of kind of consolidation on the XRP chart, which I think is a good thing to see. We're kind of seeing the Bollinger Band squeeze a little bit, things like that. We'll actually zoom in on this just so we can kind of get a better look here. We obviously saw that this really, really, really strong, well, actually I have to zoom out a bit more for this, but that really, really strong run to the upside here. We then kind of saw that wedge form. We broke out of the wedge, we saw another wedge form, but then we broke out of it to the downside instead of the upside, which feels a little bit bad. We did find some support kind of on this like $2.30 level. Honestly, really, really good. I know there are people kind of upset and whining and crying and all this type of stuff about how poorly crypto is doing, but like, I'm not sure that this looks like poor performance to me. I think overall we've seen XRP do really, really well, and it's held up really, really well. This is probably one of the strongest, if not the strong, well, probably Bitcoin's the strongest performing asset kind of in this run from like from a pullback perspective. From kind of top to bottom, Bitcoin was only down about I think it's less than 20%. XRP we could see is about 340 to about 225, about probably 40 to 50%. So it's a decent pullback, but if we look at what it saw kind of prior to that, very, very good position. Obviously, we kind of made that little bit of a run up, and then we've seen some fear from the hacking situation today, but holding seemingly relatively well. I'm considering, if we kind of go back out here, you can see I've got a whole bunch of positions open. I've been kind of keeping these open as we have seen some of this kind of pullback within the market. So I have virtuals, ICP, Bitcoin, Solana, and Sui all open. I just recently opened Sui. That's why you can see it's down. This is a very new position. And then Bitcoin, I actually doubled my position and raised it up from 3x to 4x leverage, just to kind of increase some of my spending power there. Bitcoin, I think kind of was actually one of the hardest impacted today. in terms of, I guess, like total price. I think it was still less than 2% down. But compared to the rest of the market, like it kind of moved with the market, which is a little bit surprising to me because usually the alts have been moving less dramatic or more dramatically than Bitcoin has. And so that felt like kind of a decent opportunity to maybe scoop up a little bit more Bitcoin here. So of course, we'll kind of have to see how all of this plays out. I'm very, very, very tempted to maybe get some XRP. Again, this one would probably be at least 5x, maybe even a little bit more, but it's in a little bit of a kind of less ideal position. The most ideal position kind of would have been down back at this like 230 range. That's kind of what I'm conflicted on. Do I want to see if I can kind of wait till it gets back in this range and then maybe buy on this level of support here? Or do I want to take a bet that we're kind of holding at this level of support and we're going to see kind of a continued bounce to the upside? I don't really have a great answer on that yet, so I haven't really done anything. But of course, if you are interested in trading, XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything else that I am trading here, if you want to follow along, whatever, obviously it is your own money. You do have to take responsibility for your own money. A lot of that type of stuff. I don't scalp stuff. I don't like short-term trade. I usually do kind of like the mid-term swing trades. We've seen over the past couple of weeks, crypto kind of generally has been oversold. It's starting to recover a little bit. And so as we start to see some of these bounces, or I guess I should say some of the negative selling pressure kind of subside a little bit, that's when I started to kind of scoop up on some of these. So anyway, something to kind of think about as if you are interested and want to get involved. I got that link in the description below. BTCC is doing that 10% bonus on first-time deposits, as well as extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user, plus no VPN or KYC necessary. So like I said, in the description below if you are interested. Now, moving on, what we can see is Brazil has actually approved the first XRP spot ETF, which is pretty cool. I think a lot of people were looking toward the US. I think the US is probably the most relevant in terms of like, if that happens, it's going to be really, really good news. It's going to be far more bullish news than something like this coming out of Brazil. So something to think about there. But what we can see is there is a level of like institutional acceptance of XRP. Now, if we would have seen this kind of come up in Brazil and then get denied, maybe it would have looked a little bit sketchier for the US. But I think something like this happening, and the fact that we've seen this happen in Brazil, it makes me feel pretty good about what we're seeing in the US, or at least the probabilities of the XRP ETF getting approved in the US. And a lot of people agree with me. If we look at Polymarket, there actually is some betting going on as far as if the Ripple ETF gets approved in 2025. We can see that there are 81% of people that do actually think that this is going to happen. And I think that's a probably fairly, I think this feels about right. It's obviously kind of trended up over the past, where did this start? In December 31. So over the past, couple months, this has trended up about 11%, or about 10%. So, there was a kind of a point where it dipped a bit, down to about 57%, but now we're way back up here at that 81%. So definitely the majority of the market thinking that this is something that is looking pretty reasonable. And like I said, I would tend to agree. If there's any crypto asset outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum that deserves to be approved, I would say that it's XRP. It statistically, from like a liquidity perspective, from a market cap perspective, from a longevity perspective, from a community perspective, there's a lot that XRP has going for it. After that, I like I've said earlier in the video, probably I would put Solana, just because it's got a really strong ecosystem with a bunch of things building on it. And then from there, I'd probably say Cardano, because I think it's got some really great tech, but it doesn't really have the ecosystem yet. It's kind of it's kind of like a phantom tech, right? In the sense that the tech itself is really good. There's just not people that use it, at least yet. And again, obviously there are people that use it, but just not at the same capacity. Obviously, there's a lot of people that use XRP. The XRP ecosystem has really started to build out a decent bit, which I think is probably the most important thing out of anything. So there's a lot of that going on, which is good. And then also, if we look back here, we can see that the SEC just announced that they will approve or reject. This is kind of misleading. They just essentially, this thing means that it's like a notification of response, so that they will respond to these ETF filings within the next soon, right? I mean, it's the government, so who knows exactly when that is. And from my understanding, that's not that they're going to respond with an approval or rejection, but they're just going to respond. They might delay it. They may ask for more follow. I don't know. Who knows? So we'll have to kind of wait and see on that. And then also, if we look right here, we can see that there are 11 ETFs that have been filed. We should expect something coming from BlackRock. Apparently, BlackRock is not one of these 11 that have been filed yet. So we can see Solana and XRP are kind of the two very largest ones here. After that, we've got Litecoin. These are kind of the ones that are kind of the big ones on the docket here. We have some here and there, but I mean, really only one filing. Probably not going to be happening here too soon. I think Solana and XRP are kind of the two next ones up on the list. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at here within the market. It's looking pretty good that, we might be seeing an XRP ETF. Now, part of me wonders, obviously there's a lot of people who are thinking that it's very, very likely in 2025. I'm wondering if it's happening, if it's going to happen by June or July. And actually, Polymarket has bets on this. So we'll go ahead and take a quick look at those. And we can see what people think. So if we look here, we can see a Ripple ETF approved by July 31. There's a 37% chance. So people are actually thinking probably in the second half of the year is when it's most likely that the Ripple ETF gets approved, it's interesting. U.S. National XRP Reserve in 2025, very, very unlikely is what people are thinking here. XRP all-time high is more likely than not happening in June 30 or on June 30th. There's a whole bunch of different things here that people are betting on with respect to XRP. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how some of these track. Obviously, the market very, very bullish on XRP being approved in 2025 and somewhat bearish on it happening kind of in the first half of 2025. So a little bit of interesting information there. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. I personally am very interested to see kind of how this whole XRP situation unfolds. If you are as well, please drop some comments and whatnot in the comment section. I'd love to get your opinions on, do you think it's going to happen? Do you not think it's going to happen? If it does happen, will it be a good thing? Will it be a bad thing? I'd just love to hear all of your thoughts kind of surrounding XRP ETF. If you have any, thoughts on the hacks, stuff like that, I'd be interested to hear about that as well. So anyway, also, like I said, comments, I'd love to see them. I try to read and respond to all of them. So if you have anything that you want me to see or, interact with, all that type of stuff, like I said, I do read and respond. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.